Jenny and her 5 children live in a small house. One winter, a flood occurred, and many nearby houses were flooded. Fortunately, Jenny's home was located in a higher terrain, and they were fortunate enough to avoid this disaster. After the disaster, Jenny took in a nearby homeless family affected by the disaster. Jenny's friends are all confused because she already has 5 children at home, and having more people will make their living conditions even more difficult. Jenny explained to her friends that during World War II, there was also a poor family and a poor woman with several children in a small town in France, and her husband had already died in the war. On Christmas Eve, she told her children that we may not have many things for Christmas this year, but I still prepared a gift for you, and I will go and get it for you now. When she returned, she brought a ragged little girl with her and no parents to accompany her. The woman said, "Look, this is your Christmas gift." The children were overjoyed and warmly welcomed her, and the little girl became their sister, growing up happily in that family. And I am the Christmas gift, the little girl from back. On a stormy night, an elderly couple hurried into a hotel and inquired if they could stay for the night. Apologetically, the night shift attendant politely informed them, "But all our guest rooms are fully booked tonight. However, if you don't mind, you can stay in my resting room. It may not be a luxurious suite, but it's clean enough. I'm on duty tonight, and I can rest in the back while also taking care of some financial matters." The young man earnestly made this suggestion to the elderly couple. Gratefully, the elderly couple accepted his offer and apologized for any inconvenience caused. The next day, after the storm had passed, the elderly gentleman went to the front desk to settle the bill, and there was the friendly attendant from the previous night. "You and your wife stayed in the hotel staff room last night, so we won't charge you," the attendant said with a smile. The elderly gentleman nodded in admiration. "A service attendant like you, who treats customers as gods, is every employer's dream employee. Maybe one day I can help you build a hotel." The attendant was somewhat taken aback by the compliment, but brushed it off as a joke because the statement seemed too exaggerated. Several years later, the attendant received a letter detailing the events of that stormy night, accompanied by an invitation and round-trip tickets to New York. At a street corner in New York, the attendant met the elderly gentleman from years ago who pointed to a magnificent new building and said, "This is the hotel I promised to build for you. I hope you'll come and manage it for me." Remember, I was serious. The attendant was astounded and stuttered. "But do you have any conditions? Why did you choose me? Who are you really?" "My name is Conrad Hilton, and I have no conditions. I meant it when I said you were the employee I dreamed of," replied the elderly gentleman. The building was the Hilton Hotel, a symbol of ultimate prestige in New York, the preferred choice for high-ranking officials from around the world visiting the city. The attendant who accepted the job that night was George Bolt, who later transformed the Hilton Hotel into one of the most enchanting hotels in the world. Conrad Elias remained unmarried throughout his life. One day, while taking a walk in Berlin Park, he met a little girl crying softly because she had lost her favorite doll. Elias helped the little girl search for the doll together, but couldn't find it. Elias asked the little girl to come back to the park the next day, and they will continue to search for the doll. The next day, they still couldn't find the doll, so he wrote a letter to the little girl in the name of Doll, which read, "Please don't cry. I have embarked on a journey around the world, and I will write to share my adventure with you." The story began like this, and this wonderful story continued until the end of Elias's life. Whenever he met the little girl, Elias would read these carefully crafted letters to her, telling her about the wonderful experiences of her beloved doll. Until the end, Elias brought the doll back and bought one. "But it doesn't look like my doll at all," the girl said. Elias handed her another letter. The doll wrote in the letter, "Travel has changed my appearance, no longer like before." The little girl held the new doll and brought it back to her happy home. Elias passed away 1 year later. Years later, the little girl grew up, and once, a doll accidentally broke a corner. She found a letter inside the doll signed by Elias which read, "Everything you love will leave you, but in the end, love will return in another way." The little girl arrived at Elias's grave and placed a bouquet of flowers and a letter with my doll signed. 2 women were talking, and one of them asked, "Is your son okay?" "Don't mention it," sighed the woman. "It's really unfortunate. He is really pitiful. His wife is extremely lazy. She doesn't cook, doesn't clean the room, nor even take care of her own child. She just sleeps all day long. And my son even has to bring breakfast to her bed. How about your daughter? Then she is lucky, the woman smiled happily. She married a good husband who didn't let her do any household chores. All the work is done by the husband, such as cooking, washing clothes, sweeping the floor, taking care of the child, and also brings breakfast to the bed for her every day. In the face of the same situation, when we only look at it from our own perspective, we will only come to our own conclusion. But when we stand in someone else's position to look at it, in a single-parent household, the father sat at his desk, staring anxiously at the monthly bills. At that moment, his daughter rushed over and loudly announced, "Daddy, today is your 40th birthday and I want to give you 40 kisses, one for each year." Just as the little girl was about to fulfill her promise, her father exclaimed loudly, "Oh, Jenny, not now. Please don't disturb me. I'm too busy." The little girl immediately fell silent, tears welling up in her big blue eyes. The father, seeing the disappointment in her eyes, apologized deeply, saying, "I'll make time for your kisses later, okay?" The little girl said nothing, just walked away silently, her expression of disappointment evident. That night, the father said, "Come on, Jenny, you can give me those kisses now." But the little girl didn't respond, only staring at her father with an increasingly disappointed look. Sadly, just a few days later, tragedy struck, as the little girl drowned. She had been standing by the river, filled with disappointment when the accident occurred. Heartbroken, the father wrote, "If only I could tell her how much I regret those thoughtless words, she would surely understand the pain in my heart. But now, there's no chance left." Love is a two-way street. Timely acceptance and response to expressions of love are crucial. Otherwise, the other person may think you no longer love or care for them, leaving behind a scar. It's paramount to respond with love to those who are precious to us, those who surround us. If situations like that of the little girl arise, there won't be a chance for regret. David went to study in Germany 3 years ago, and he told us his story very regretfully. The school was far away from where he lived, and he had to take the subway back and forth every day. The clever him soon found that it was very easy to skip tickets on the subway. So in order to save money, he often skipped tickets. As a result, he had been caught skipping tickets 4 times, but he never took these things to heart. In his opinion, he should focus more on his studies and not be disturbed by other things. During the 2 years of studying abroad, he did indeed study very hard, and he graduated with excellent grades when he graduated. Everyone, including himself, thought that he would easily stay in Germany and find a good job and have a bright future. He went to a local large company with full confidence. But what was astonishing was that they didn't even give David a chance for an interview. He went to another well-known company, and as a result, he received the same treatment. After he was rejected for the 3rd time, he couldn't help but call the company and asked them why they didn't give him any chance. The other party's answer was very simple. In Germany, we do not offer jobs to dishonest people. David told us very regretfully, "We may obtain short-term benefits through dishonest methods, but the truth will eventually come to light and make us pay a high price sooner or later. So please remember that honesty is the best strategy."